about it. So let's just look at some quick examples of games that have done phenomenal jobs with this. So Stair Dismount, they launched their game originally without leaderboards. And they got pretty good rating, and all of their fans that were like the game were like, I want leaderboards, I want to know how I'm doing against other people, how I stack up. So they put leaderboards in. But they didn't just put in leaderboards. What you can see here is, over here, they actually, so this is the screen that shows up before you start a level. They actually have like a little preview of the level and lets you moving in engines, very nicely done. And they show your current high score and then the worldwide high score. So you know before you get into the game, you know who you're competing, like kind of where you're going with, what the goal is for this game. And then on the stage select screen, they have your score in the corner on each level, and then the worldwide high score shown right there. So it's integrated directly into the game in a way that players will see it and then care about it. We call these speed bumps when we talk about it inside of Feint as a company, because it's the metaphor is you're driving along and then oop bump, you hit a leaderboard, and then it kind of sucks you into that context. So another great example is Jet Car Stunt. They added in leaderboards, the friend leaderboard before you start a level. So this screen is the screen that you see before you start playing a race in Jet Car Stunt. They added the friend leaderboard because this shows the top 5 friends that I have who have played the game. And Jacob, who's sitting right there, clearly is really good at this level. And they also added in as part of this the ability to do action replays, so you can go and watch someone play the game and then compete with them. And when they launched this feature, they tripled the number of sessions per day per user overnight. Yeah.
So this brings up the point. What Apple's doing with the Game Center, it doesn't provide necessarily all these other approaches and features you're talking about, right?
Well, I don't know about the action replays, but I would expect that so far everything I've shown you can do. I would expect that they would provide you with view controllers that you can use to display leaderboards and achievements in their own interface, much like we have with Feint, and then also APIs to allow you to directly access that data to put in your game like this.
And then like the Stanford Wireless guy was demoing local phase. This new SDK that's coming out, and he was talking about using that SDK to do location-aware top leaderboards, so in your city or in your neighborhood or whatever, which I think is good, you know. So is Feint not going to continue to maintain this and then provide features that Apple's Game Center doesn't? Because something like that might be really useful. I know when I'm not that good at a lot of these games, and there's no way I can hit that high score. Maybe I can get that high score in my neighborhood, in my
right.
Or I can move to another city where I'd be the #1 guy.
Yeah, sure. So I mean that's a good point. I guess so. The question is basically like, will we continue supporting and enabling all the stuff that Apple doesn't have yet? And to the extent that Apple allows us to, we will. Apple, or in a Q&A after the OS 4.0 event, someone asked Steve Jobs whether or not developers would be required to use Game Center. And his response was no. He's not going to require people to use Game Center. He's going to allow you to use whatever you want, but he would expect everyone to choose Game Center because it's what Apple has standardized. I expect the same thing, but on that note, like in that diagram I showed before, when Game Center comes in, the online game services with Feint are still there. We have no intention to stop supporting them. And to the extent that Apple will allow us to extend their actual game services, we'll definitely do so. We'll definitely do so. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool. So another example is Depict, which is an online multiplayer Pictionary game. You get matched up with 4 or 5 other people, and you draw, and you have to pick, what the person's doing. In this game, they did such a fantastic job of creating a shared experience with other people that they literally caused thousands and thousands and thousands of friendships to happen every single day. This game accounts for more friendships in the Feint network in a single day than the majority of the games combined. And you simply tap on someone's avatar, so the little faces up there are the different people, and you tap on their name and you tap on their avatar, you click add as friend, and you become friends. So this type of an experience is something that is just phenomenal when you can kind of bring a game online and put people together like this. Obviously, Game Center will not enable you to do a online multiplayer Pictionary game because they won't have the server support for it. But this style of game where you could create a shared experience, they'll have matchmaking, so if you roll your own server or use Feint or do peer-to-peer, you'll be able to create this kind of stuff. And this is what you'll have to do to differentiate once the bar is that everyone has, leaderboards. So what this boils down to is you have to make better games. So you can no longer just stick leaderboards and achievements in and assume that it's going to work. Instead, you actually have to figure out how to take those online gaming features and use them to make your game better. So make sure that you're ready, basically. You need to start thinking about this stuff now. When you're designing your games, you should start designing the game with online in mind. Don't wait until the game is finished and then stick it in. All of the games that I just actually walked through launched originally without really thinking about online, and then they had to add it back in later. And that time that the game was out, that they didn't effectively take advantage of online gaming services, was customers that they lost, time spent playing that they lost, word of mouth that they lost. It was just squandered opportunity to get more people more engaged talking about your game and selling more copies. So some examples of games that did a phenomenal job of designing this online in mind is Arcade Solitaire Tri-Towers, a fantastic game which Ken worked on. And in the corner, it has the next friend ranked above me with my current score, and then my current rank right here with my score. So as I'm playing, and you match cards around kind of like solitaire, my score goes up, and if I pass megabytes, it'll show me the next person in the friend leaderboard. And this is a fairly simple game, but by adding in this bit of social competition, it makes me sit here and play it for 45 minutes, because I'm trying to beat Meg to see who's above her and beat the next person and the next person. Jet Car Stunts, they added this feature called Add Friends, which if you just take the leaderboards and stick them here, it doesn't really quite work. You have to think, oh, well, what if people don't have friends? So they have an Add Friends button that shows up if the leaderboard is empty, so that you can bring in people to start competing with. Field Runners, they built an entire user interface that brings the leaderboards, and they have an Add Friend button on it directly into the game, like a speed bump again, that you can get to from the main menu. And in the case of Field Runners and Jet Car Stunts, they didn't build these games originally with online in mind, so they ended up having to go back and do significant rework to really capture and make the game hit the bar that people were expecting. So if you can think about how you can land in places like the Field Runners and Jet Car Stunts did, and Tri-Solitaire, or Tri-Towers, you'll end up saving more time and capture an audience, a bigger audience sooner. So it's really important that you start playing around with this stuff and thinking about it, and get hands-on experience. The players, it's not like Apple announced Game Center and then everyone is waiting for it now. Everyone really wants this stuff right now. The developers are excited about it. I'm sure everyone here is excited about it, or at least curious about it. A lot of the gamers who care about this kind of stuff, they want it now. They saw Apple announce Game Center. They're in their head. They're like, Xbox Live on my iPhone. This is hot. I want it now. You can give them these features. You can capture the buzz and the excitement that's happening around Game Center by putting it in your game now, effectively, using another networking service. And I mentioned a few times that by having these online services, it enables you to actually capture a community of players that you can then leverage for your future titles. The guys at Jumanji do this really well. When they launch new games, they have a mailing list of 100,000, 200,000 of people that they can send out their games, their newsletter blast to, and that helps them propel their new titles into top lists. So the longer you are not building your community, the less of a defensible position your games business is in.